Hi everybody, welcome back. This is our last week of videos, believe it or not. It flew by, for me anyway. I hope it flew by for you too, but at least these will be here online for you to come back to whenever you need them. But for our last video, I wanted to talk about the most important aspect. I saved the best for last. The most important aspect of wind instrument playing, and that, of course, as you know, is air. Air, air, air. For this lesson, you'll need your instrument. We'll do a little bit of playing, but mostly we're going to be doing some breathing exercises. We're going to talk about different aspects of breathing, including breath support and airstream and direction of air. But before we get to those, let's ask ourselves, why is air so important to us and for our wind playing? Well, it's obvious, really. There's two reasons, I guess. One is obvious, and the other is maybe not so obvious. The first, of course, is we play wind instruments, and without any air, the instrument doesn't make any sound. I mean, I can click these around all day, but that's not really musical, and that's not the kind of sound that we want anyway. And the second reason is that proper and efficient use of air and breathing and breath support can make the difference between making good music and making great music, right? So in order to get us from that level of good musicians to great musicians, we have to spend a lot of time working, thinking about, and practicing our breathing. So there's three big sections that I'll talk about today. The first is breathing. And I understand that it seems sort of odd to practice breathing, because we're, in general, pretty good at it. We do it all the time. Right now, I've been breathing this whole time, and I haven't thought about it once. But we will think about it, and we will think about how we breathe, and we'll practice breathing in particular ways that are going to make us, that are going to benefit us as musicians and make our playing a lot better. So, the first thing to understand is that since we use a lot more air than normal, than when we normally would breathe, when we play, we have to engage certain muscles. We have to practice strengthening these muscles and getting a lot of air and making efficient and good use of that air that we have. To do this, we use a particular type of breathing that is called diaphragmatic breathing. It's called that, it's a big word, but it's called that because it engages a muscle called the diaphragm. For us, we'll just call it proper breathing, because that's what it is really. It's proper breathing when you play a wind instrument. So, and there are a lot of exercises to help us practice this, but we're going to go over just a few, and I'll walk you through those, and you'll be able to practice them on your own. I'll also leave videos. There'll be like 5 different videos in the description of this video that you can click on, and they include so many more exercises that there's no way I could cover in 20 minutes. So check those out and practice them. Not all of them every day, but practice at least some of those every day, and you'll see a huge difference in your playing. I promise you. So like I said, this breathing is called diaphragmatic breathing, and it engages a muscle right below your lungs called the diaphragm. And it's shaped sort of like a parachute. And it sits underneath your lungs, so your lungs come down here. And they fill up with air, and then they push that air back out. That's what inhalation and exhalation is. It's just your lungs expanding, and then pushing that air back out. Now your lungs actually don't do that on their own. This muscle underneath them, the diaphragm, is what makes them expand and contract, because your lungs can't expand and contract on their own. There's just no muscles in there to actually make that happen. So it's up to the diaphragm to, what it does is, when you breathe in, the diaphragm shrinks down and lets the lungs fill up with air. And then when you breathe out, the diaphragm expands and makes the lungs contract and pushes air out. So it's all about getting that muscle, the diaphragm, really strong and practice using it all the time. It feels different to use it when we breathe and to really specifically focus on it when we play. But if we can engage that muscle and strengthen it, it's going to improve our playing so much. Okay, so go ahead and stand up, give yourself some space. We're going to do some exercises. The very first one, before we actually get into the exercises, is just stretching. There's a few different ways we can stretch, but the goal is to stretch these muscles in our upper chest and our upper body, including our arms, and also on the sides of our torso. So the first stretch, just follow me. Take your right arm, bring it over your head, and give it just a gentle sort of pull. Okay? And as we do this, be breathing in and out. Okay? And lean into it a little bit to help get an even deeper stretch. Keep breathing, and that helps us stretch even more. Okay, good. Now roll your shoulders around, shake it out, shake your leg out, shake your other leg out, do the hokey pokey, turn yourself around. Other hand, bring it over. Same thing, breathing in and out. Big deep breaths. And lean into it. Okay. Shoulders, roll them. Shake it out. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our hands behind our back, just like I have. And we pull them back as far as we can, just to stretch these muscles here in our shoulders. Stretch those out. And then lean over. And then let your arms dangle in front of you. And bring your body back up. Nice and relaxed the whole time. Okay. And now what we're going to do is, I like this exercise, or this stretch. It's just a breathing sort of stretch. Arms up and sigh. As you throw them down. One more time. Up and sigh. Okay, good. Now it's time to actually do the exercises. Here's something very, very important. Okay? If you start to feel dizzy or lightheaded, and you very well may, it happens to me sometimes too. During these exercises, if you feel that way, dizzy or lightheaded, immediately stop, sit down, and breathe in and out through your nose over and over, very gently, very calmly, until you feel better. It's not worth passing out and falling over and, hurting yourself. This is like, this is a workout. Really, these exercises are going to work out your lungs and your diaphragm and all these muscles in your throat, and they're going to train the muscles in your mouth to help you breathe efficiently. But it's just like working out any other part of your body. You wouldn't go to the gym and start doing a bench press on weights that are way too heavy for you, because you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to pull a muscle, you're going to hurt yourself. And the same thing can happen here. You can pass out and hurt yourself, and we don't want that. It's very dangerous to keep going past that point where you start to feel dizzy or lightheaded. So if you feel that way, sit down and deep breaths through your nose. Okay, time for some exercises. The first one is called E to O, and this helps train the muscles in our mouths and our tongue and the shape of our mouth to get a shape that is very efficient when we breathe, and helps get a better sound when we play. So every time we breathe, whether we breathe in or breathe out, we should be thinking the syllable, the sound O, with our lips and with our mouth. So as if you're saying O, as in home, right? We make that same shape when we breathe in. And then when we breathe out. Okay? And to practice finding this shape, we're going to start with the opposite sound, in a way, which is E. So, to practice this, we're going to get a full breath of air, and then we're going to breathe out in like rapid pulses. So let me demonstrate. And as we do it, we're going to go from the sound E to the sound O. Okay, so watch me. Okay, again, big breath. Try this with me. By the time you get to O, you should be completely out of breath. Let's try that one more time with me. Big breath. Okay, good. Now the second exercise that we get to do is called paper airplane, darts, bow and arrow. And the purpose of this exercise is to help us understand the flow of air through our mouth and up through our lungs and through the diaphragm when we play at different dynamics on our instrument. So there's 3 parts to it. The first one is called paper airplane, okay? And what we do, we take an invisible paper airplane and we're going to fly it, right? And we're going to guide that paper airplane in a smooth and steady stream of air from our mouth. And since the paper airplane is small and light, and it floats really well, we don't need that much air. We just need a pianissimo amount of air. The second part to it is called darts, okay? So same idea, but we're going to throw a dart, which is a little bit heavier and requires mezzo forte air to make it go in a straight and steady path. The last one is called bow and arrow, okay? And so it's the biggest of them all. We take our bow and, well, maybe I should stand like this. Our bow and arrow, and we let it go, and that requires fortissimo air because it's the biggest out of all of these, okay? So let's go to the top. Let's start with paper airplane, okay? So take your paper airplane, hold it in your hand, and with me, we're going to throw it, and we're going to guide it with a smooth and steady stream of pianissimo air, okay? Ready? With me? Just like that until you run out of air, okay? Make sense? Let's do it one more time. Paper airplane, let it fly until it slowly touches down once you run out of air, okay? Again. Good. Okay, next is dart. It's a little bit heavier, a little more air. This time, mezzo forte amount of air, okay? Here's the dart, ready? Big breath. Again. Good. Lastly, bow and arrow. We're going to shoot this way now because I don't have enough room to go this way. Okay? Now we need the most air. So draw back. Fortissimo air. Again. One more time. Good. And when we do fortissimo air, we need to fill up biggest O shape that we can and a constant, big, powerful, steady airstream all the way through. Make sense? Good. The last exercise, number 3, is called shark fin. And I like this one a lot. It sometimes makes me a little bit lightheaded and dizzy though. So if that happens now, I'll sit down and do what I need to do and then come back and show you guys how it goes. But that just goes to show that even I sometimes get dizzy doing these, especially when you do them over and over all day long. It can really start to wear you out. So just be careful and be smart about it. This exercise, shark fin, helps us do 2 things. The first is that it helps make sure that we're shaping our mouth correctly when we inhale, and then it also helps us gain better control over our air when we inhale and when we exhale. And I'll demonstrate how it goes. You need to put your hand up to your mouth when you do this. So before you do that, go wash your hands, because this time more than ever we need to have good hygiene and sanitary habits, okay? So go wash your hands really quick, come back, and then do this with me, okay? Okay, so now that our hands are clean, we can put them up to our mouth, and the first step is to take a shark fin. Make your hand into a shark fin, just like this. Put it up to your mouth, and expel all your air, so breathe out, and then take a big breath in, so like this. And when you do, you should hear a very specific sound from the air that comes across your fingers. So, And if you do it right and your mouth is making that O shape and your mouth is open on the inside and your throat is open, you should hear that specific sound. If your lips are too close together, it'll sound more like that's not what we're going for. And if your teeth are too close together, it sounds like and that's not it either. And you also look really funny when you do that. So, nice big open sound when we do that. Shark fin, okay? And always thinking O when we do that. The second part to this is we breathe in for 4 counts with the shark fin, and then we blow out on our hand for 4 counts. So, like this, follow me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 4 in and 4 out. Let's try that again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Then we go in for 3 and out for 4. So we're still going out for the same amount, but we have to breathe in a little bit faster because we only have 3 counts now. Okay? Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4. Good. Okay? Again. In, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4. And keep doing the shark fin thing. I'm not doing it because I'm trying to demonstrate the inhale and exhale. But you should be doing the shark fin. Okay, one more time. In for 3, out for 4. Ready, and in, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then we do in for 2, out for 4. Okay, so we have even less time to get that full breath. Alright, so try this with me. Same thing. In for 2, out for 4. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. In, 2, out, 2, 3, 4. Again. In, 2, out, 2, 3, 4. One more time. In, 2, out, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Lastly, last step. In for 1 beat, out for 4. Okay? So this should be the biggest, fullest breath that we can get. Because we only have 1 count to do it. So it'll be let's do it. I'll count us in. Ready? 1, 2, 3. In, out, 2, 3, 4. Okay, again. In, out, 2, 3, 4. I'll do it with you now. Again. Good. Be careful when you're practicing that. Again, it makes me lightheaded sometimes. So if you got lightheaded, that's okay. Take a breather and come back to it when you're feeling better. So that's breathing, and those are some exercises to help you practice breathing. Like I mentioned earlier, there's videos down below that you should click on and you should check them out. And it's like an hour's worth of stuff, so you don't have to do it all right away. But try a little bit of it every single day, and it will improve your breathing and it'll improve your playing so much. Okay, the next concept that we're going to talk about is air support. Supporting our air means that we're actively engaging and using this muscle, the diaphragm, when we play. It can be kind of uncomfortable at first, and for a while actually, but the more we practice strengthening and engaging this muscle, the better our playing will sound. And to check, it may not be obvious whether you're engaging that muscle. So to check, if you place your hand right underneath your rib cage while you're breathing in or blowing out, press down and feel if it's tightening or not. And it should be if it's being engaged. So that's a pretty quick and easy way to know whether or not you're breathing with full and good breath support. Like I said, breath support and good air support affects the way you sound when you play in a number of ways. Specifically, it can improve your tone, so just the general sound that you make on your instrument for a prettier and more beautiful full sound. And it also can improve your intonation, so whether you're in tune or not. It can also help with our balance in a big ensemble, so in band you'll be able to balance and blend better together with other people. And it also improves our phrasing. So phrasing is like a musical sentence. So if you have a musical sentence that is 2 measures long and it's a slow tempo, you need to be able to play that line without putting a breath in the middle of it. Because I wouldn't breathe in the middle of a sentence, right? And so you don't want to do that when you're playing musically either. You don't want to breathe in the middle of a sentence. You want to continue all the way through until that sentence is over, right? And so playing with good air and breath support helps us to maintain our air all the way through a phrase. So better phrasing. And lastly, it helps us develop other skills more easily, believe it or not, because you won't have to be spending so much time working on your breathing because you already are doing that starting now, every day. And then you have more time moving forward because you're not going to be running into these problems with air support and breathing and breath support issues. So go ahead and get your instrument. Pause right now if you need to, so you can go do that. And we're going to practice playing with good air support. And if we do this right, it should help us play for longer without running out of breath so quickly. The exercise we're going to do is really simple. You don't need any music or anything, so long as you have your B-flat major scale memorized. If you don't, go ahead and find somewhere where you have that written down so you can play it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna practice playing that at this tempo. That's quarter note equals 82 beats per minute, and we're gonna play up and down the scale, very legato and smooth. But we're gonna see if we can do it all in one breath. Okay, so go ahead and try that with me. B flat major scale all in one breath in quarter notes, right? So here we go. And if you can't do this, don't be too discouraged. It takes a lot of time to practice this, but with good air support, we can practice doing this exercise, and hopefully it'll get closer and closer every time you do it. Okay? Ready? 1, 2. So if you did that, no problem. Slow it down a little bit. Or we can try doing half notes. Okay? Here we go. Half notes now. So it'll be la da da da. Okay? Big air and good breath support to get through it. Ready? 1, 2. I almost ran out. I did, but I was able to get through that. So what I would do is slow that down. So do half notes at 70 beats per minute. See if I can make it through that. And what that forces you to do is support your air better using your diaphragm and to breathe more efficiently so that you can make it through that whole, the entire time. So, okay, finally the last concept that I want to talk about is airstream and direction of air. Airstream is the way the air travels through our mouth and into the instrument, basically. And we can change basically 3 things about the airstream in order to play different dynamics, in order to play more in tune, and in order to play and to play in different octaves and registers on your instrument. So specifically, the 3 things that we can change are the size of the airstream, right? So we can use more air or less air to make that airstream bigger or smaller. We can also change the speed of the airstream, so faster air versus slower air, whether it's going or right. And you can also change the direction of the airstream. And these things all go back to the paper airplane, the darts, and the bow and arrow exercise that we did. You can apply all these things there as well. Maybe not so much direction of air, but let me talk about, well, I mentioned we can change dynamics. So what do we have to change about our airstream to play different dynamics? Well, for example, forte, we need to use, we need a bigger airstream, so we need to use more air, right? And to play piano, we need to create a smaller airstream, so we use less air. I said that we can also use the airstream to change, to make us play more in tune, so we can change the pitch. And there's a few different ways we can do that, but in terms of air, one thing that we can do is change the direction of our airstream. So what happens is, try whistling. If you can whistle, practice changing pitch up and down. So if I've got, and I want to go up, I have to change the direction of the air so that it actually is higher up in my mouth. The way I do that, and the way that you would do that too if you whistle, is to lift the back of your tongue up a little bit, closer to the molars in the back of your mouth. So to raise pitch when you whistle, you lift your tongue. I'm not a great whistler, but I think you get the idea. And to do the opposite, to lower the pitch, you lower your tongue down closer to the bottom of your mouth. So, like this. So as we move our tongue up and down, we create, when we raise it up, we make an E sound, or an E shape in our mouth. So it's E, and then when you lower your tongue, it's more of an O, and you can hear the change in pitch when I whistle, from going E to O. That's E, and then here's going down to O. And that's the basic idea with your instrument as well. I also mentioned that we can change octaves and registers when we change our airstream and the direction of air. And to do that, we actually need to change two things about our airstream. The first is the speed of the airstream, and the second is direction. So we have to change both of those at the same time. So if you're playing a lower octave or a lower partial or the fundamental tone on your instrument, holy cow, you have to, in order to get the partials above that, so this is for brass, obviously, you have to use faster air, right? So you change the speed, faster air to go up, and you also can bring your tongue up towards the top of your mouth, and that helps you get that as well. And then the opposite going down, so slower air to get lower notes, and drop your tongue a little bit to do that as well. The same thing applies to playing flute or clarinet or saxophone or pretty much every wind instrument that I can think of, from bassoon to piccolo to didgeridoo to oboe, whatever. It's the same concept. So to pop up the octave, faster air and raised tongue. So you'll think E in your mouth, and it'll go up. And then to drop down to the register below or the octave below, and try this on your flute. So play like a low D, and see if you can use your airstream, a faster airstream, and move your tongue up, and see if you can get the D an octave above that. So it'll go from to, if you do it really well. And it's really tough. I can demonstrate on my saxophone, but I'm not sure that I can do it super well. So try it out and see if it works best. It works best on flute and on brass instruments. So see if you can make that work. So those are the three things I wanted to talk about. It's breath, air support, and then airstream and direction. So I hope that makes good sense. For those breathing exercises, look down in the description and check those out. I really would like you to do that because it's going to help you out so much. And also because this is the last video I have for you. So hopefully by doing that, you can sort of keep learning and keep engaging and practicing this stuff. If you want to go back and look at the videos we've already done, that's not a bad idea either. There's some practice materials that I have given you. I think last week there were a few. So keep working on those. I've had a lot of fun teaching you guys this semester. I hope you've had fun learning, and I hope you've had fun becoming better musicians, because you're all fabulous instrumentalists, and I hope that you'll be back in the fall. Well, I hope we'll all be back in the fall so that we can keep going with this. So that's all I've got. So stay healthy, stay happy, keep having fun, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Okay, Bye-bye.